Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Or you can subscribe to the channel and click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. As you can see, I'm in the car, I'm out and about, but I've seen some breaking news from Talk Sport, so I thought I'd bring a very brief video. Joseph Parker, who obviously we were discussing recently, and about his commitment, questioning his commitment, his hunger, his desire, is teaming up with Andy Lee ahead of a fight with Derek Chisora. He'll be based in London. I'm assuming it's just a one-off deal, a one-off training sort of camp, I guess you could say, because he has been obviously speaking about wanting to be in New Zealand, and that's why he broke up with Kevin Barry. Maybe that was just talk. Maybe that was just talk, a way of saving face in the short term, and he's going to find a way to say, look, actually, I want to take my career into consideration, and there's a lot to gain from being based in the UK, and maybe that's where he's going to want to go with it. Who knows? That would be a clear statement that he's still taking his career very, very seriously. With regards to Andy Lee, coming from that Kronk sort of background, that Kronk education, Andy Lee generally is a very, very intelligent man, and it's not just the Kronk education he would have had in the past. You have to remember he's worked with Tyson Fury, he's worked with Ben Davison, he has those links to MTK, so I'm sure he's a very, very versatile guy in terms of his boxing knowledge. He's an intelligent man. If you ever see him speak, I saw him once give an interview, and he was discussing how in the modern day people were completely incapable of critical thinking. And I remember reading this article, and it's something I've spoken about in the past, and it really resonated with me. I was sitting there thinking, God, Andy, you know what you're talking about. It shows to me that when someone's not stuck in their ways and they're willing to analyze, and they're not always looking at what is a mainstream view or an authoritative view, but they're willing to potentially accept that mainstream view, it doesn't mean you have to always dismiss it, but you are willing to analyze it. It shows a man who's intelligent. And Andy Lee's certainly intelligent. He's got that analytical eye. So it'll be interesting to see how he works with Joseph Parker. For me, like I've always said, Parker needs to work on that entry point, disguising that entry point, working his way inside without smothering his own work. No more of that thing we see with Junior Farr or with other fighters where he just throws this looping shot and falls into an attack and ends up falling into the opponent and smothering his own work. He has to be able to find a way to be creative on his entry point, maintain that level of distance and space so that he can actually go to work when he's on the inside. That's what you want from Andy Lee. Sorry, from Joseph Parker. Now, Andy Lee was a guy with terrific timing with his own right hand. He was a big puncher, and the Kronk style, of course, is all about being smart in your way of setting up those big shots and being aggressive with it, but smart aggression. It's effective, intelligent aggression. And so it will be interesting to see how Andy Lee works on that entry point. The one sort of area that I'm unsure about, how much can you genuinely teach a guy in a short space of time? There's talk about the fight being in May. I've also heard about potentially in June. That's not that long. Does Andy Lee have enough time to completely alter or even just to twitch slightly what needs to be tweaked with what needs to be tweaked with Joseph Parker for him to be able to then be effective against a guy like Derek Chisora, who's going to bring a lot of pressure? With Derek Chisora, you have to understand he's the sort of guy that will come in recklessly. And I think Joseph Parker's got a lot of he's durable, and he picks his timing of his shots are really good. So when he's on the back foot and you see Chisora coming in, it's not going to have that same problem of him trying to be creative with that entry point. I think Chisora is going to be the one that's going to look to find him, and he could certainly walk onto shots. And if that happens, Joseph Parker can end up looking really, really good. So maybe Andy Lee doesn't need all that time for a creative entry point to work on that, because maybe it's just going to be about tweaking things that are already there and sharpening him up, because a lot of the stuff he's already capable of doing very, very well, but with the addition of being able to be taught, I guess, how to plant his feet effectively to time the guy when he's coming in. So this can end up being a beautiful, marriage made in heaven, so to speak, a match made in heaven, a fantastic boxing marriage, which could see some real benefits for Joseph Parker. Or we could end up seeing the fact that he hasn't had enough time to implement these new ideas. You can end up seeing a situation whereby he's caught in between worlds, like I've spoken about in the past with Callum Smith when he fought Canelo. You can end up being caught in between worlds in terms of what you're trying to do. And if there's a guy who you don't really want to be unsure about what you're doing against, it's Derek Chisora, because of the type of tempo he sets, and he's not going to give you time to breathe and think. Everything has to be instinctive. If it's not instinctive and you're sitting there and you're trying to think about what you're going to do, you can end up coming into some real problems. So let me know what you think, guys. How do you think this fight's going to go? We're going to do a much more detailed breakdown when the time, closer to the fight. But the point is, how do you think this link up between Lee and Parker is going to go? Do you think it's the right move? I think there's potentially a lot of stuff to be excited about if you're a Joseph Parker fan. Thank you for watching. Chat to you soon. God bless.